The message is out, and everybody on the left has heard it wherever they get their talking points. Defend Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan at all costs. In late February, Farrakhan railed against Jewish people at an event. He said they created apartheid and were causing black men to become gay through the use of marijuana. Women's March national co-chair Tamika Mallory will not denounce him. Meanwhile, The Atlantic magazine, which all the smart people read, has published a piece defending him, in effect, citing the Nation of Islam's role in poor communities. Marjorie Clifton is a consultant and a self-described feminist, and she joins us tonight. Marjorie, it's great to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
So I knew you were a feminist. I had no idea that Louis Farrakhan was sympathetic to feminism. I went to the Million Man March in '95. I think, actually, to be honest, I think there are worse people in America than Louis Farrakhan. But he's a hater, and he's certainly not a feminist, and he's an open bigot. So, like, why would the Women's March, which is about women and progressive values, be tied to him?
Well, it actually wasn't. They just came out in a public statement and denounced his statements that were anti-Semitic. But what's interesting about the Women's March, it is in a movement that is embracing a lot of different kinds of women. So you've got women coming from the African-American community, the Jewish community, the white community, the Muslim community, and it's complicated. And one of the amazing things that I'm seeing in this movement is a willingness to acknowledge that sometimes we step in it because we are in some ways not aware of how even just participation in an event, like we saw with Tamika Mallory, who attended an event where he was speaking, offended others. And what's great about her is she has come forward and apologized to those around her for the ways that she created. And she has very publicly come out and said, of course I do not defend those statements. And of course I denounce
but that's actually, if I can, wow, I've never seen a gloss like that. It's in fact, I'm blinded by the sheen from the gloss that you just put on that. She didn't actually say that. She continued to defend him. She initially refused until the media noise got so loud from the right that she couldn't ignore it. She defended him and said, I'm not disavowing him. And it's, so are you suggesting that she didn't know of his views? She doesn't have Google or Wikipedia where she is?
What I think she didn't realize was that in one thing he said, and actually, as you said it in the last segment, one person, an entire movement shouldn't be discredited for the actions of someone associated in any removed way, and that's what we're talking about.
But wait a second. No, hold on. But hold on. I can't let you go on that because again, I just want to be clear. I think there are worse people than Louis Farrakhan. I think Farrakhan's repugnant, but I think they probably do some decent things in neighborhoods. I mean, I try not to paint in stark contrast. But by the standards that you're espousing and that Tamika Mallory is espousing, where if you've ever met anybody with whom the Atlantic magazine disagrees, or if you've ever said anything that doesn't kind of conform to our current sensibilities, you're out, man. You're fired from your job. There's no redemption. There's no apology that will ever cleanse your sins. Those are the standards that you are pushing. So why do you apply different standards to yourself?
Actually, I'm not. And what I'm actually espousing is that in any movement, and this is true, by the way, of any administration, anyone else, there should be the opportunity to repair where something has done wrong. And I think that's true in terms of how the Me Too movement's handled all of these others, is that you cannot be guilty as accused on one shot. It doesn't mean that every person is perfect. It doesn't mean that we can't step in it and correct and repair. And that's what she is doing, by the way. And so this movement is acknowledging we're coming at this from a lot of different angles. And,
okay,
it's interesting.
So what I guess what you're saying is there are probably good people on both sides of it. Is that what you're saying? Kind of the Charlottesville line on this?
Okay, that's different.
It's totally different. Oh, I'm sorry. Because it's not your side, so it's totally different. There are good people on both sides. That is kind of what you're saying. I mean, you agreed. No.
What I'm saying is that this is a movement that's very different. It's not a single platform. It's encompassing all that is about inclusion. That means anyone with disabilities. It means
I get it. But these are the leaders. But hold on. These are not some random people. These are the leaders of the movement, including Linda Sarsour. So let's just re-engineer this, reverse engineer it if we could. What about Farrakhan do you think they found appealing? They went out of their way to tie themselves to him and to defend him. Why, I wonder?
No, actually, they didn't, and
they
did not. They don't have him representing it. What they denounced was his statements, but he was involved.
But what did they like? I mean, why do you suppose she went to one of his? I mean, look, everybody over the age of 3 who can read English knows his views because they're the most famous thing about him. They're openly racist. So why would she go to one of his events? Was she the only person who didn't know? I'm honestly confused.
See, he was very involved in the civil rights movement, and it's interesting because I'm not an African-American woman.
I remember him calling for racial separatism in alliance with the KKK, actually. So he wasn't involved in the civil rights movement.
He was an organizer. He was an organizer in the Million Man March that you participated in.
Yeah, that was 1995, 30 years later.
But let me offer another way of looking at it, okay? I'm not an African-American woman, and it's interesting because I've talked to others in the African-American community that said when OJ, you know, was basically on trial, it was a very hard thing to get their heads around that he could, in a sense, not betray the movement, but do something wrong because he was an idol in that community. And I think there are people that do good things, but they also, you know, can do bad things, but it doesn't make the whole movement discredited.
I agree with you. Let me stop right now and just say, I totally agree, and we're all flawed, and good people do bad things. And by the way, bad people do good things, because that's the nature of life. And so I hope you will add your voice to the tiny chorus of people reminding everyone else of that the next time someone gets fired from his job because he had lunch with someone that he doesn't agree with. Like, can you please help convince people that that's true? Okay, good.
That is if I had one mission in life, it would be get people together and talk about it, give people an opportunity to repair, restore cultures of organizations when bad things happen. For example, the entire Catholic faith is not discredited by the fact that there were priests who were pedophiles. Yeah, you know, Billy Graham was not a bad person because he associated with Nixon at one point in time. That doesn't discredit his life's work.
Well, good.
So we can't do things that way.
I found the one, reasonable liberal tonight. Thank you, Marjorie, because I agree with all of that, and I appreciate your saying it.